Well, we have Nicolás Maduro, the president of Venezuela, being captured. We have Nick Shirley coming in hot with Minnesota fraud. We also have California open carry ban struck on the Second Amendment has been struck down by the Ninth Circuit. We got a lot more to cover here, folks. Happy New Year. It is good to see all of you, and it's about time we are back here streaming live with everybody. Well, let's jump right into the news because there is a lot of it, and I feel like we've been gone long enough where we didn't necessarily miss all of it, but we got a lot to cover here. So what we have here is the U.S. captures Maduro and Trump takes control of Venezuela. This comes from the New York Times, and it was something pretty shocking that we did cover in, well, it's about 11:30 p.m. my time, and I'm seeing these images come out on X. That shows how late we sometimes stay up here and do show prep for you, even though we wake up at 4:30 every morning to bring you the news. And I'm seeing these helicopters flying into Venezuela. I'm like, what's going on? And then I'm seeing these massive explosions taking place. I was like, oh, nobody knew who it was. But let's be real here. We knew who it was. We knew who was bringing Maduro a new year. So the United States just crossed a line that most presidents, man, wouldn't even contemplate. And President Donald J. Trump did it without hesitation, man. It was bonkers. In a 2-hour operation deep inside Caracas, U.S. forces captured Venezuelan dictator, because that's what he is, Nicolás Maduro, extracted that dude from the country and transported him to New York to face federal charges. I mean, talk about crazy. And not in a bad way, but crazy in the way of, dude, you went in and extracted a president, air quotes, of a foreign country and brought him to your country. Like, dude, this is something you see out of movies when you see like that crazy kidnapping heist that the entire movie's about. Except Donald Trump takes in about 150 aircraft, some Delta Force, and just extracts the dude and his wife. Now, let's be fair. We were all told another lie that Donald Trump separates families. Clearly, he doesn't, because not only did he extract Nicolás Maduro, they took the dude's wife with him. What a great guy. What a great Trump doesn't separate families. He brings them together. Well, there was nothing sanctioned here. All right. There was no warning. Sort of kind of was right over the few months. He's like, hey, you better not do it, Maduro. I'm going to come after you. And well, Maduro poked the bear, and well, he got what he deserved. Nothing was negotiated. The guy was removed. And what makes this moment historic isn't just like what happened. It's how the Trump administration is framing it and kind of what comes next here. Let's look into what actually happened, because there's a lot of information coming out about this. So it's kind of the most up-to-date what we got. We got other news to cover, so it's not fully in detail. But late Friday night, Trump authorized what U.S. officials are calling a large-scale strike inside Venezuela. And according to the Joint Chief Chairman, General Dan Kane, 150 aircraft were involved. You had Venezuelan air defenses were completely neutralized. These aircraft were flying like 100 feet above water. But we were showing video on TikTok. That's why you want to follow me over at TikTok. Link and everything's in the description. We were showing video footage of these helicopters flying extremely low, which was kind of surprising. You don't do that, nor do you just sit there and hover a helicopter for a while without taking any air defense or at least some sort of initiative going after you from the ground. Bonkers. The U.S. helicopters inserted troops directly into Caracas. The mission lasted just over 2 hours, which is extremely fast. And by early Saturday morning, Nicolás Maduro and his wife had surrendered. And it's partially true. There were reports that they were trying to go into a safe room and they couldn't close the door quick enough. And so we got them that way. Maduro is in Brooklyn and is scheduled to appear in federal court today on drug trafficking, narco-terrorism, and weapons charges. And judging by the photos I've seen of this guy doing his thumbs up, he doesn't seem too upset about it. I don't know. Which almost makes me think, and that's all conspiratorial, makes me almost think that the guy had a deal with Donald Trump. to come and get him out of there, because if they didn't do that, then he would probably be deleted by the cartel or whoever's there. And I think there is some truth to that, by the way. I think that if Nicolás Maduro did give up, I think the cartel would have done him in. And it's probably the safest place for him to be is the United States, surprisingly. No proof of that, but that's just my guess. The reason why, too, if you're wondering where I'm kind of getting that from, is Donald Trump did say like a day or two before that he was on the phone with Nicolás Maduro, which is kind of an odd thing to be on the phone with the guy. Like, hey, man, just wondering how you're doing. Yeah, everything good? Okay, just make sure. Can you just make sure around, I don't know, be around your phone at, let's say 11:30 Pacific Standard Time, please? Let's do, does Friday work for you? Does Friday work okay? You know what I mean? He's like, the weather's looking pretty good that day. I just want to wish you and your wife a happy new year. You know? Next thing you know, there's freaking helicopters and Apaches flying in. Oh my God, on delay. Oh man, it was pretty cool looking. So the casualties, the blowback of the reality, the operation was not bloodless. Venezuelan officials report at least 80 were deleted, including military personnel and civilians. There's always going to be civilian casualties, unfortunately. You don't want to see that type of stuff happen. Cuban state media claims 32 Cuban forces were deleted. Troops Havana had deployed to support Maduro. God, can you imagine being those guys? Can you imagine just knowing the United States is there? And you get that call up. All right, boys, this is what we've been training for. We're going after the Americans. That ain't good. That is a really rough situation to be in if you're going after the United States of America. Good luck with that, buddy. You also have no Americans were deleted, thank God. Several U.S. troops were injured, and resistance was, quote, significant. I think they just had to put that in there. I don't think there was really much resistance. There was allegedly an aircraft that was damaged, but it was able to stay operational. That kind of tells me maybe they took a few rounds. Who knows, a 5.56 or something. I don't know. But our boys did them in. God, it was nasty. I mean, talk about an operation, huh? And Trump is denying the scale. He's not denying the scale, rather, he is owning it. The administration is making it very clear this was deliberate, not accidental. Oh, you know, I'm sure there's some idiot out there that does think it's accidental. I'm sure there is. Look, there's a lot of idiots out there, man. Look, they're already protesting this. It's so funny. 9 months ago, they're holding the Mexican flag. And like 6 months ago, it was the Ukrainian flag. 3 months ago, it was like some other flag. And today, now it's the Venezuelan flag. Like 2 weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago. Last week, it was the Somali flag over there. It's just whatever flag they'll wave other than the United States. It's amazing. These freaking lefties. Here's where the story gets explosive. The Trump administration is not calling this a military invasion. They're calling it a law enforcement operation. I like it. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who, by the way, let's give that guy a big round of applause for what he's doing. That guy works hard, man. I mean, I told you, I think he's doing more than JD, but hey, people want to push back on it. So be it. So be it. But I think Marco's doing it all. Said Congress could not be notified in advance. Trump brushed off constitutional concerns entirely. Yeah, can we get out of this? I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican president. Can we get out of the whole idea that we need to notify Congress about literally everything that the president is ever doing? I get that there is some things that need to be done, but the way these people are nowadays, they're so two-faced. You're not even sure if they're exactly giving pledge to the country of which they're a congressional member of. Yeah, you know, I'm okay with actually keeping them out of the loop because these scumbags will notify people. Hell, even our own military has acknowledged the fact that they'll tell foreign countries before we do anything. Oh, what's an example? Milley openly said, oh yeah, if we ever did anything to China, I'll let them know in advance. Openly on video, by the way. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen a service member ever say. Like that high up. Yeah, I'll let him know. I'll let him know that we're coming in. Really? All right, well, you get fired a little, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Shows me who your allegiance is truly towards. That distinction of how the Trump administration is framing this actually matters because if this is a military operation, you have war powers that are applied to this and congressional authorization does matter. So they are very careful with how they frame this one. If this is a law enforcement action, the president's authority expands dramatically. I mean, the guy can almost do anything. And Democrats, as you can imagine, are already demanding a briefing. Republicans are largely backing the move, and the White House is daring Congress to challenge it. So this excessive power being pushed to its outer limits was intentional, and I like it. I think this is a good move. Now, the other question is, what happens to Venezuela? Who's running Venezuela right now? What's going on over there? Well, right now, nobody. Well, at the same time, I guess everybody. Venezuela's defense minister claims that Maduro government still governs. Maduro's vice president secretly swore herself as the interim president. And Trump says the United States intends to run the country temporarily. I'm hoping he sticks to this. I do not want another Iraq situation in the sense of us running some country again or whatever. We'll see. Opposition leader Edmundo Gonzalez declared himself president. Everyone declares themselves president, right? I'm presidente. Yeah, sure you are, idiot. Nobel Peace Prize winner. I've heard this one, and we'll see how this one does turn out. The Nobel Peace Prize winner, Maria Corina Machado, is demanding recognition. There's no clean transition. There's no unified authority, and there is absolute chaos going on. People are actually pillaging. It almost looks like Black Lives Matter down there, just raiding convenience stores and shopping stores. So there's looting going on. No, that's happening. Really, I mean, if you saw the footage of it, it doesn't look any different than what you see here in Los Angeles or Portland, Oregon, or any of these lefty areas where Black Lives Matter is just running roughshod or Antifa over these small businesses. Big businesses too, I suppose. You got REI that pulled out of California, $600,000 in security, and they couldn't afford it, so they said, "Hey, we're out of here." It's all because of smash and grabs. So, yet nobody running Venezuela. Trump says he's going to, but man, we'll see about that. Oil is the leverage. Now everyone's like, "Oh, we're in there for oil." Yeah, probably, and a lot of other things. See, folks, anytime you watch the news or you hear anybody talk, it's so odd to me. Because they always focus on one thing rather than going, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why maybe we were there in Venezuela. I don't know. The guy's a dictator, drug trafficking that's happening to the United States. The fact that China is strong arming the Venezuelans to put in intelligence on the Western Hemisphere that can track anything that we do in terms of military operations, or if we need to protect ourselves, or really anything. You also have the Russians down there. Yeah, it's not a good thing to have Venezuela bend the knee to China and Russia and Iran. I don't exactly like having those guys super, air quotes, super close and watching our every move. You also have the oil stuff going on. You have the ghost ships that we talked about that were being tracked right now, where they were sanctioned, but yet the crude oil was also being siphoned and drawn in to China, Russia, and Iran. There's a lot of reasons as to why we went there, and it was a good move by the Trump administration. Well, Venezuela, as you know, is a petro state. Oil accounts for the majority of the government revenue, which we have covered ad nauseum here on the show. And most export income comes from that and the regime's survival. Trump has already ordered a military quarantine of Venezuela's waters. Oil tankers are being stopped, which we've seen before. You got cargoes being seized. I mean, he's just taking entire tankers themselves. And un momento, I just lost my spot in my show notes because I'm trying to zoom in here. I can't see anything. By the way, if you're enjoying what you're hearing and seeing, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We really support all your efforts in watching the show, and then come in here each and every morning and get your news. Where were we? Here we go. Sanctions are being enforced at gunpoint, and the message is simple: no oil, no money, no regime. And this also hits China, Iran, and Russia, which I told you is a multivariate analysis of what's going on here. It's not just going after the Venezuela government, like Maduro here and his wife, but it's also going after the cartel. It's also going after oil. It's also going after drugs. It's also going after the Monroe Doctrine and seizing power of the Western Hemisphere, that it's ours. It's not China's. It's not Russia's. It's ours. And it's all strategic. I mean, there are so many variables that go into why Venezuela is such a big predictor of certain outcomes that this was a good move. But for some reason, people just want to focus on oil. Oil, yeah, of course. Why don't we focus on gold? They're one of the biggest natural mineral elements or whatever. I mean, gold is an element out there. Okay, so let's focus on gold. Maybe we went in for all the gold. Yes, yeah, we took all the treasure. Well, you already called Trump a pirate. That's what they were calling Trump, modern day pirate. Okay, well, we got your gold too, you matey. All of whom relied on Venezuelan oil shipped through shadow fleets to bypass sanctions, which we covered here on the show more than once. Again, this is the modern day Monroe Doctrine. Well, now you got to wonder, okay, so, well, we got the whole thing going in, then we got us going, who's running in Venezuela? Probably Marco Rubio, to be realistic. He threw a PXS name in there, but it's Marco. So Marco's running like 5 countries right now. That poor guy, dude. Marco's like, what? Mr. President, I can't do anymore. So what happens to Maduro? Well, he's in New York right now. The guy's probably having the time of his life. Maduro faces charges similar to those first filed during Trump's first term. You got narco-terrorism, cocaine trafficking conspiracies, weapon offenses. I mean, there's a litany of things, really. If convicted, he could face life in prison. Now, he's in New York. Who knows how these judges are going to swing, right? Who knows? It's New York, man. It can go any direction. Most likely, he's going to be set free, according to how these leftists love to run things. Yeah, just let a dictator that's deleted a bunch of people run free. Yeah, well, what's any different than what they already do? Well, I'm serious, by the way. The Democrat Party allows convicted felons to run loose. You saw that in Minnesota. Or not Minnesota. Well, maybe Minnesota, but you definitely saw it with J.B. Pritzker over there in Chicago and Illinois. Yeah, he literally let out over 1,000 convicted criminals, illegal aliens. Convicted. Not might be a criminal. Maybe it's just my guess. No, convicted through the courts. They just let them loose. So this happens all the time. Or how about the guy that had 70 priors and went and deleted that one individual? Or the other guy that had 15, 30 priors and deleted that individual. They love this stuff. Maybe this guy will go free. Who knows? A photo was released by the White House shows Maduro in handcuffs, masked, wearing headphones. You think he was listening to music? You think Trump was playing YMCA? Or how about this? You think those are maybe hooked up to somebody's phone and Trump was like, I got you, you son of a bitch. You think you can dance in front of me, Maduro, you son of a... Huh? How you think you got me? Trump's just talking bad shit in his ear the entire time. The image matters. It truly does. It tells every strong man watching, sanctions are optional. Extractions are not, baby. And you're next. And Trump called out other countries, by the way. We'll get to it. We got a lot to cover here. We got a lot to cover on the show. Now, there's a global message here. The UN Security Council is holding an emergency meting. Honestly, in the chat, does anybody care? Does anybody care about a UN meeting? The UN does nothing. I don't even know why we have the United Nations anymore. They're a bunch of grandstanders. I always share this book, and I understand that maybe you're not a big fan of Nikki Haley after what she said about Donald Trump and the Republican Party and all this other stuff. Really great book. Get her book because it gives you the behind the scenes of when she was the United Nations ambassador to the United States during Donald Trump's first term. And you get a really good glimpse at how all these countries are so freaking two-faced, dude. I'm talking even our allies, man. That's why that completely changed my perspective of the United Nations as well as our allies, that they're just a bunch of two-faced people that are just greedy, hungry, want our money, blah, blah, blah. People might say, well, isn't the United States greedy and all this stuff? Yeah, well, I'm pro-American, so I'm greedy. What are you gonna do about it? In the same way, all these other countries are like, blah, 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 blah. You can't do that. Oh, we just did with Nicolás Maduro. We did. What are you gonna do about it? Again, force is everything. There's a great thing by Andrew Wilson of The Crucible. He talks a lot about the force doctrine. And for some reason, I think we've had life so good that we forget about that there's actual bigger people out there, that there's a thing called natural order out there, that there's a Darwinism that takes place, that force still runs everything in the world, and that because we don't utilize it very often, we forget that it's there. So when it actually comes out and force is applied somewhere, people are completely shocked that we did something that was forceful. Oh, how could we? Oh, it's unbelievable that we did something like that. I can't believe the United States could go in and just extract the president. I know, it's pretty unbelievable. Who thought that we'd actually do something like that? That's pretty freaking awesome. But the other route of it, yes, correct. That's what happens when you have the most powerful military force that's ever been devised in human existence since this rock that we live on has ever started spinning, that we have the greatest military might that's ever existed, and that finally we're utilizing it, saying, yeah, you know what? We're kind of tired of being pushed around. We're kind of tired of you poking the bear a little bit. We're kind of tired of you sending drugs here and killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. Yeah, it's about time we start pushing people around because we're tired of this crap. And you push us around a little bit too long. And now you found out. And other people want to find out too, and we'll get to that a little bit because it seems like Cuba wants a little bit of this as well. Maybe Colombia, maybe Iran wants a little bit of this too. Yeah, I'm talking a high game right now. I'm not exactly the one that has to go and extract these people, but I got a lot of faith in our military to do it because they've done it time and time and time again. So I don't want to hear this from the UN Security Council. Like, we're going to hold an emergency and we're going to condemn what you did. Yeah, okay, you can't even pay your own damn bill. Shut up. Our allies are a little uneasy. Can't really trust the European Union. Adversaries are recalculating, as they should be, because this is a real takeaway right now. The United States just demonstrated is willing to physically move hostile leaders, not just isolate them diplomatically. Whether this becomes a one-off or a doctrine depends on what happens next. And Trump might very well go after more people here. The administration is signaling something very clear. Sanctions are no longer symbolic. They were under Joey. There were sanctions. We'll put them in air quotes under Joey. There was. But oil will be weaponized and executive power will be used aggressively. The Western Hemisphere is not up for negotiation. I heard there's trillions of dollars in oil in Venezuela. I don't know if that's true. I heard there's like their reserve. Take this with a grain of salt, please. I heard their reserve is like 17 trillion. Can we just, and I mean this in all seriousness, I am not joking around. Sell that immediately and pay off half our debt, please. And I'm as serious as a heart attack. Take all of it. Pillage all of it. It's stolen. Yes, we stole the oil. I don't care. We took it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's ours now. Suck us and sell it. I know it sounds harsh. It sounds cold-hearted. But, you know, sometimes you just got to use your force to get rid of that debt. It's so funny how the left is all of a sudden like so upset with force. Really, because there's like millions of people that forced their way into our country. Yeah, there was a bunch of people that forced their way into underage girls' underwear, and they got let loose free. Yeah, no, you guys use force all the time. You guys use Antifa to forcefully go into businesses and light them on fire and loot them. What's the problem with us going into another country and forcibly taking their oil? They're cool with it in all these other places, but all of a sudden when we do it, we're the bad guys. But when every other country does it, whoa, that's a big boo-boo. Can't be doing that. Give me a break. Give me a break. So, there's a lot there for you. That was what was going on with Maduro. It's good to see all of you. By the way, we're back here for the new year. It's good to see all of you. How do you guys like the new thumbnails and stuff like that? We're revamping some things. We're making a difference here. We are. We're making a big old difference. But it's good to see you guys in the chat. You didn't know if I'd be back, did you? We're queuing up our show notes for the next part of the show, which is going to be about Iran. But I do want to give you guys a shout out to say, hey, well, we're back for another year. I can't believe it, huh? Yeah, I don't know. But I have been really ill. I've been sick for a week, and I'm trying to hold it together for you guys on the show. I did a lot of prep. I got cough drop galores. I got my stuff down here to make sure we'll get through the show. Holy crap, is that Dizzy? Hey, Dizzy! Like I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't seen a lot of people. Oh, it's a new year, so we all wanted to tune in. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, it's a new year. All of a sudden, we want to show Brad some love. It's good to see all of you in the chat. God bless you. All righty. Well, we got more news here on Iran. And I told you this whole Venezuela thing is not just about oil. It is. And it's a strong arm with the oil. But it's also about Russia, China, and Iran. Remember, these ghost ships were changing their paperwork. They were changing their flags. They were changing their data. Folks, they were changing their tracking beacons. And they were heading over to China. They're heading over to Russia and Iran. And well, that's a massive problem. And we ain't going to handle it. So now Trump's out here going, you're next. Irans, you are next. I don't like you very much. And the world is watching Iran right now. And there's other countries. There's Colombia next, and then there's Cuba. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're having a good time. We do this each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, weekdays. And so is the Trump administration on this. Just days after the U.S. Special Forces captured Venezuela dictator Nicolás Maduro, the State Department posted a series of direct warnings to the Iranian regime in Farsi, by the way. So if you don't understand English, suckers, we're putting in your own language. As Tehran continues violently cracking down on protesters and testing missile defenses. This wasn't subtle, by the way. This wasn't even diplomatic, really. This was deliberate psychological pressure, and it was meant to be seen by Trump, which I absolutely love. Trump is so outspoken, but he's also, whenever he does something, he will post videos of him not just saying it, but also doing it. I'm going to blow the drug cartels out of the water. And everyone's like, yeah, sure you are, buddy. Sure you are, old man. And boom, just left it every week. Every week, there's just missiles, Hellfire missiles coming down on these boats. And the left comes out and says, oh, they're just fishermen. No, it's just a guy and his son just went out on a day cruise. They're on a half-day trip on a boat. Really, because I deep-sea fish all the time. I deep-sea fish for like 20-plus years with my father. Never seen a deep-sea fisher boat with 6 outboard motors. Never seen it. I've never even seen a boat have 5 out. I've seen 4 before. Okay, that's the most I've ever seen for an actual fisherman that's deep-sea fishing. Never seen anything more than 4. These suckers are pulling 8. All right? Don't give me that. And by the way, those don't even look like deep sea fishing boats. Give me a freaking break. Folks, I want to point something out because I don't want anybody to follow into this BS nonsense that we don't know if there's drugs on that boat. Really? Does anybody actually believe that? That we don't know if there's drugs on that boat? I just want to point something out. And I got this from somebody else, and I forget who said this, but they were totally right on this one. Do y'all remember when we were targeting terrorists and like we were able to pinpoint the exact apartment complex that one of these terrorists were in? And we didn't blow up the building. We could have flattened that huge skyscraper. We targeted the exact hole to the exact room that terrorist was in with a missile. Didn't barely touch the room next door. There might have been a crack in the wall. Look, you got to do what you got to do. The drywall can be repaired. We took out a terrorist with a pinhole, with a missile. Okay, yeah, we know there's drugs on there. Give me a freaking break. Not to mention you probably have CIA boots on the ground, all that stuff. The message that was displayed wasn't for Twitter. On Sunday night, the U.S. State Department's Farsi language X account posted a stark message. It said, "President Trump is a man of action. If you didn't know, now you know." The post featured President Trump alongside Secretary of State Marco Rubio, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, paired with a blunt warning: don't play with Donald Trump. This wasn't messaging aimed at Western media, by the way. This was messaging aimed inside Iran, at regime officials, security forces, and intelligence leadership. By the way, Elon Musk was back with Donald Trump like for the last week. So you know that I would imagine that Trump's like, "Hey, Elon, I need a favor here, brother. I need a favor." And posting, and I'm sure he had all the advertisement that he ever wanted to just blast this on everybody's account over there in Iran. I guarantee you he had Elon just open the airwaves to Iran, and just post it everywhere. So everybody saw this. The language choice matters. The timing also matters. And the context matters even more. Don't mess around with the United States because big dog's back in office. We ain't allowing you to push us around anymore, and we're tired of it. You had an old dullard in there, guy that's brain wasn't working half the time or majority of the time. Yeah, not this guy. Not the guy I voted for 3 times. He don't put up with crap. That's what we need. We need parents back, don't we? Don't we need people back in business, boys? Don't we need people back in the chair to not put up with this knucklehead nonsense anymore? Appreciate it. Thanks, Karen, for the $2. Says for Brad to buy Kleenex to wipe the tears caused by Boehner. Oh, geez, Willis. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for the $2. Always appreciate donations. By the way, you can make donations over at baldbrad.com. We have a donation tab up there. Appreciate you. Well, where were we here? Oh, well, this whole thing hits different after Maduro. Just 48 hours earlier, Trump ordered U.S. forces into Caracas, as we covered, for Nicolás Maduro. So this whole messaging, just is expanded beyond belief because now he's like, "I'll come for you." Remember how the Ayatollah Khomeini was all talking about how he was hiding? You know what I mean? "Oh, I'm in my basement. You can't come get me." Yeah, Nicolás Maduro was doing the same thing, dancing like a knucklehead. We know where you are, man. It's crazy how these people just think that we're. I think their IQ only goes so far, so they're not able to comprehend that, dude. We could see you through walls. Yeah, dude. We know that. We know what you ate 30 seconds ago. We know everything about you, buddy. It's just so funny how these guys out there in the middle of the desert could think that they can hide from us. It's hilarious. Oh, sure. Let them think it. No, let them think it. It's fine. It makes our life easier. You know what I mean? Dude's in some hut in the middle of the desert. Sure, buddy. Yeah. We don't know where you are. Well, yeah. Next thing you know is a freaking Chinook flying above you with Delta Force coming down with 20 guys. Sure. While you're eating your freaking cracker. Well, despite Trump publicly calling for Iran to stop shooting protesters, the regime did the opposite. According to human rights groups, at least 17 protesters have been deleted in 1 week. Most were shot directly by regime forces. Video is showing security units beating demonstrators. And crowds are chanting freedom and death to the dictator. When I read that, I almost spit out my coffee early this morning because they're always chanting death to America. Now they're chanting freedom. It's so funny how the Iranian government, not the people, the government, people do it too, but the government always chants in their chambers, death to America. And people forget this. And I always have to remind everybody that this guy on your screen right here, this guy right here, with the beardy beard, he said himself that death to America is not a slogan, it's a policy. That's almost an exact quote, by the way. That's what that dude said. Yeah, I'm not exactly on board with somebody saying death to America because I live here, okay? I'm not exactly a big fan of you saying that, but the left love it. The left are all about it. How could you push Iran around? How could you? The people are nice. Yeah, I'm sure the people are great, but this guy on your screen right now, yeah, he's not a good guy. And I'm kind of tired of guys threatening my life, my family's life, my friend's life. Everybody watching this show, not totally into it. Well, Trump responded bluntly from Air Force One. Trump said this, quote, "If Iran starts deleting people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States." Boom, baby. That is not coded language. That's not even diplomacy, baby. That is a conditional threat, my friends, and I am all about it. Here's the thing. Y'all remember when Trump came in office here in the second term, and he was kind of being wish-washy, a little read in the wind, and you guys will remember me saying this. I was like, he can't act like this. The guy, if he's going to say he's going to do something, he needs to just go do it. This is exactly what I was wanting, is because now people don't know what the guy's going to do. Look what he did with the Iranians before. Brought in some B-2s, dropped some bombs. He's done this, bada beep, bada boop. He's going after the cartel and he's posting video about it. Now he's extracted a freaking air quotes president out of Venezuela. He's not really the president, right? He wasn't reelected, but the guy uses powers to come in and do all this stuff. We don't need to rehash that out. Now people don't know what Trump's going to do. And that's exactly where you want people. You don't know if this guy says he's going to do something, that he's actually going to do it. You want to keep people on their toes. Yeah, you better walk. You better fall in line or I'm coming down. And I love that. I love it. Because when I said you need parents back in office, when you need men, alphas, baby, back in office, because you don't know. You know, your parents spank you in the tushy once or twice, and when tell you to stop, you're kind of thinking, well, what am I going to get beat again, or am I just going to? You're just telling me to stop. Which one is it? That's where you want them. When Trump says stop it, are you going to get a spanking in the tushy, Ron? Or are you going to be told to, a little bit something else? Yeah, you don't know, huh? Things are a little bit different now with Trump back in office, huh? Daddy's back. By the way, you remember that one guy from I think he was either from the United Nations, the European Union, or NATO? Some guy. Don't worry about it. You remember we called Trump Daddy? Daddy's back. Everybody write in the chat. Daddy's back. Daddy's home. I love it. As you can tell, I'm so giddy this new year. It's going to be different. The next 3 years are going to be different. It hasn't even been a full year of the Trump administration, by the way. Just want to let you know. Think about all the crazy... We should have done a year recap of the Trump administration. Think about all the crazy stuff that's happened in the last year. And it's all positive. Stock markets through the roof. You have sanctions on countries. You got all these 8 wars solved. You got him, taking out people that weren't even supposed to be president. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The list goes on and on and on. It's great. All the while, 4 years ago, Joey wasn't doing anything other than sleeping in his bed with a CPAP machine hooked to his face. Instead of backing down, Iran launched missiles and air defense exercises over the weekend. And for some reason, and I don't know why, people just weren't covering this. I think because there's just so much news out there, it kind of gets, maybe brushed under the rug, or it just wasn't in a hierarchy of news that needs to be covered. But air defense fire was heard in Tehran, and it was called Shiraz, I think is the other place. This directly contradicts Trump's warning to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just days earlier, because Trump's position on this whole thing was crystal clear. The missiles, yes. The nuclear, fast. Which translates that ballistic missile development is not negotiable, and patience is gone. Excuse me. I am still sick, by the way. Which is interesting that they were having the balls, even though Trump said to not be doing knucklehead stuff, to still go do knucklehead stuff because they haven't learned. And I don't think they will ever learn because their IQ is low. And by their IQ, I mean the Iranian government, not the people. The people are great. The Farsi post gets sharper because you have Rubio and Hegseth are now just basically talking like Trump. Pete Hegseth, I get. Marco Rubio is kind of surprising, though, because Marco Rubio, y'all remember him when he was going after Trump in the presidential primary back in what was 2014, 15 or something like that. And they were going back and forth. Marco, I think, is warming up to Trump a little bit. After working with him, I think he's learning a lot here. The Farsi language State Department account didn't stop with one post. They were having so much fun. They were having McDonald's and Diet Coke in the back room. It followed up with a clip of Rubio warning Trump does not make idle threats. A quote from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth referencing the B-2 bomber strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. But folks, again, they're putting it in Farsi. They're just sending it all over the place. Hegseth's quote posted in Farsi was a blunt to the point message, and it was shocking. He said this, quote, Nicolás Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't. He effed around and he found out. Oh, folks, look, it's not traditional State Department language. No, it's not. It's not even deterrent. It's deterrence through clarity is all it is. Now, the left don't like that type of language. I still have, but I think he should be as clear as possible. Oh, hey, look, on something like this, when you're talking about extracting people that claim to be president of foreign countries, you want to be clear. you don't want to, you want to make sure that nobody is, deviating or having to read between the lines and maybe something gets misconstrued or misunderstood. No. You got to be clear. That's all they're doing. They're being clear. That's all. And Iran's in survival mode right now. Because again, once you go after the oil, you're kind of choking out Iran. The reason why they're protesting in the streets, they're on day, I think it's day 9. I think it's day 9 of the protest in Iran. They're being choked out, man. These sanctions are brutal right now to their economy. And not just that, we just took out some of their oil. I mean, they're hurting. They're feeling the pressure. According to the New York Times, Iran's Supreme National Security Council met an emergency session on Friday. 2 issues dominated the meeting: how to suppress protests without triggering U.S. intervention. Suckers. And how to prepare for potential military strikes. Well, to be fair, you can't do anything. I mean, what's that conversation like in there? You know what I mean? How are you going to prepare for potential military strikes? I don't know. Put your head underground? Well, there's nothing you can do. Officials reportedly described the regime as operating in survival mode. That's what they said. That's a quote, survival mode. That's telling because this wasn't just ideological, it's economic, and they are feeling it right now. The people are really feeling it. You have an economic collapse happening in Iran, and it's only getting worse, and there's things that are fueling the fire here. Iran's currency has collapsed. It is brutal. Is it called the rial? The currency? Rial? Anyways, their currency has lost 56% of its value in 6 months. Yeah. Yes. Some of you just spit out your coffee. 56% of its value. Just poof. See you later. Where'd it go? Food prices are up 72% year over year. Now, to be fair, Joe Biden would be bragging about these types of things. Joe Biden could never. You know what I mean? Joe Biden tried. But, these dictators, he's authoritarian, he's crazy, he's on the other countries. They have to show them what's up. The Democrat Party wishes they could hit these types of numbers. By the way, I'm being a smart aleck. These are really negative numbers. They are not a good thing. But the Democrat Party, the mainstream media would spin it as if they are. Iran's president admitted merchants who protested over prices had legitimate demands. But Ayatollah Khamenei took a much harder line, declaring, quote, rioters must be put in their place, end quote. And then he went on to add, there's no point in talking with a rioter. Well, there is some truth to that. The only reason I say there's some truth to there's no point talking to a rioter is because look at Antifa or Black Lives Matter. Do you guys think you'll be able to walk up on the street and speak their language and get them to have some common sense? Probably not. Now, there's a big difference between these rioters and Antifa and Black Lives Matter because, the rioters in Iran actually want freedom. Yeah, they're actually under a dictatorship where Antifa and Black Lives Matter, they have freedom, they have liberties, and are not under a dictatorship because they're so pretzeled and just, I don't know what happened with the chemical imbalance in their mind. Somehow they just think that they're under a dictatorship. I don't know. It's really odd to me, too. Well, why does this whole moment matter? I think that's important. Is because Iran is facing domestic unrest. Well, they're in full-blown economic collapse. They have the loss of allies like Maduro. He's gone. And U.S. president is willing to act. And unlike prior administrations, Trump is not separating human rights, nuclear threats, missile development, and regional aggression. They're all part of the same question and equation. The message to Tehran is simple. You are not immune. You're not untouchable. We'll find you. And you're being watched. And not only that, but we're putting it in your own damn language now. I love that. I love that. So Trump is making America great again. He's making the world great again. He's literally making the world a safer place. And he knows what he's doing over there in Venezuela. He knows what he's doing with Iran. And this type of stuff needs to happen, folks. I know that it's not the best thing. You kind of wish that you just live your life, you know what I mean, at home and have a nice time with your friends and family and your kids and live a whole kumbaya life. But unfortunately, with the leftist ideology that's not just run rampant here in the United States, but it's now run rampant around the rest of the world. Yeah, communism and socialism still exists, and it is a cancer. It is a cancer that deletes many, many, many people, and we can't have that. Because what happens? That stuff flows into our country because you have a whole party that wants to allow it to happen. See, when you allow socialism to flourish, air quotes, flourish, because it doesn't actually flourish. It cripples economies. Look at Venezuela, prime example. That stuff comes here. It gets imported into our country because you got knuckleheads that think, well, these people just need a better life. They just want to live a better, peaceful life. No, they don't. No. They want to take from our system. They want to siphon out from our welfare state. They don't want to give back to our country. And they want to take, never give. The Democrat Party under the Kennedys used to say, hey, ask not what your country could do for you, but what you could do for your country. Yeah, well, that left the Democrat Party about 2 minutes after he said that. Unbelievable. Well, it's not just Venezuela. It's not just Iran, but it's also, what do we got here? We got Colombia. So Trump is also warning Colombia. I mean, Trump just took his cojones and flopped them onto a wheelbarrow because he can't walk with them straight anymore. They are so swollen and so big that now he's going after everybody. Just when the world thought Maduro operation was just a one-off, Trump comes out and made it clear that this wasn't a weekend. It wasn't. Flying aboard Air Force One, Trump turned his attention north to Colombia and delivered one of the most jaw-dropping warnings yet by a sitting head of state. And this time, he didn't bother with euphemisms, man. Trump goes directly after Petro. So when asked about Colombia's president, Gustavo Petro, Trump didn't hedge. He didn't even soften his language, man. He said Petro is running a country that is, quote, very sick, led by, quote, a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States, end quote. And then came the line that set the alarm bells off, and it went across all of Latin America. This is what he said. I'm going to do it even in his voice. He's not going to be doing it very long, end quote. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. These guys think they're so... This is what happens. I know I say it all. I say it often. This is what happens when you allow countries that are tiny, have no business speaking up as if there's some supreme power. No. They have no business speaking up and thinking that they are bigger than what they are. And this is why Trump needed to make this move. Because now people are sitting down. Now people need to wake up. And you know what? I think Colombia should be next a little bit here. Yeah, I think they should. You know, you take this guy with you as well. The guy that wants a little piece of the pie. That's fine. You want to act tough, big guy? Yeah, we got Trump in office. Act tough. See what happens. Yeah, people say the same thing about me. Well, I got a camera microphone. I'm not a tough guy. I like talking big game because I got the United States behind me. If I didn't have the United States military behind me, I would shut my mouth. Which is exactly what that guy should be doing. Petro. He doesn't have the United States military. He doesn't have a military. His military is the Boy Scouts. And no offense to the Boy Scouts, but the Boy Scouts are now basically the Girl Scouts. Well, you gonna be selling cookies, buddy? You're selling cocaine. All right? You got nothing. So yeah, I would shut my mouth if I didn't have the United States military. You don't. Trump does. That's why Trump is blasting stuff Farsi. And now he needs to blast stuff whatever they speak over there in Colombia. A reporter followed up with an obvious question. Would the United States consider another operation similar to the one that seized Nicolás Maduro, but this time targeting Petro, this guy on your screen right here? Let's make sure. Yeah, he's on your screen. All right. That would have been really odd if he wasn't. Trump's response was just 3 words. It's 4 words, but yeah, here and there. Sounds good to me is what Trump said. That sentence matters because it wasn't said in a campaign rally. It wasn't said on some Truth Social post. It was said after a successful real-world operation that removed a foreign dictator from power and flew him to New York in handcuffs. I mean, context changes everything here. Yeah, sounds good to me. We'll take him out too. No problem. We know how to do it now. Colombia has long been the epicenter of cocaine production destined for the United States. And despite billions spent on counter narcotic programs over decades, cocaine flows have surged in recent years. And it has not declined. Under this dude, Petro, coca cultivation has increased, enforcement has weakened, and cooperation with the U.S. has deteriorated. And Petro hasn't exactly hidden his hostility towards Trump. As U.S. warships massed near Venezuela as they were preparing for this operation over the course of a few months, Petro publicly taunted the administration, dismissing U.S. warnings and framing enforcement as imperialism. What he doesn't get is that we're always called bad names by people, and that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Y'all remember that saying that we grew up with? Okay, you call us imperialist. Ooh, whoa, that's going to stop us. That's going to put Trump back in the Oval Office with a Diet Coke. Sure it is. Okay. These people are idiots, man. I'm telling you, they're really, really stupid. I know I don't need to tell you guys that, but somebody needs to tell this guy he's an idiot. Petro defends Maduro, and he attacks the U.S. And what do I mean by that? After Maduro's arrest, Petro went on the offensive. He called the operation an, quote, assault on South American sovereignty. Yes, he said that. I know. What? Really? It wasn't your socialist dictatorships that crumbled South America? No, really? Oh yeah, people are resorting to having dogs and cats. Yeah, you're doing great over there. South American sovereignty. I don't know what sovereignty they really have. Guy loses an election, but through his dictatorship and his power, utilizing the force of the cartel. Sure. It's so funny how they can use force to keep a guy in power that was never elected to stay in power in the first place. But when we use force to remove a guy that was never supposed to be in power, that used force himself to stay in power, we're the bad guys. I still can't wrap my head around it. There's logic somewhere in there, I suppose. An act of U.S. aggression and a violation of international norms. He also defended Maduro against U.S. drug trafficking charges. Unbelievable. The same charges that stem from a 2020 federal indictment tied to a narco-terror operation. That defense may have moved Petro from a critic to a potential subject. I think so. This isn't even really rhetoric. It's kind of a trend or a pattern that's been established by this guy. Here's what the media isn't saying clearly enough. The administration is no longer separating drug trafficking, terror financing, state leadership. Trump has collapsed those categories into one threat model. If a regime enables cartel operations, if he facilitates narcotics flowing in the United States and uses state power to shield traffickers, that regime is treated as hostile, and as it should be. And that's exactly why Maduro found himself in Brooklyn. And he's going to be facing a judge today because we're tired of it. And we're tired of putting up with this crap. And it's about time we take over the Western Hemisphere once again. Because daddy's back in office. And it's about time that we have alphas running the show that are tired of this crap. And by the way, as much as you guys see the lefties out there protesting this whole thing, 300 million people are in this country. When you see a half dozen out there, here or there, that ain't nothing. Most people support this, by the way. Don't be fooled by the mainstream media trying to find that one tree that fell down in a massive storm, massive in air quotes, when it was drizzling. Go, oh, this was the worst storm ever, right? And they're on their knees because they're sitting in a puddle in a playground. Yeah, no. Don't be fooled by these people. This was nothing, all right? This whole protest that's going on is nothing by the progressive left. People love what Trump is doing right now. The Venezuelans love what Trump is doing right now. Don't be fooled by the media. They're a bunch of liars, and you know that. I don't need to tell you all that. You know that. The U.S. military has been aggressively targeting drug boats in the Caribbean, the Pacific, off Colombia's coast as well. Several interdictions have already occurred in waters tied directly to Colombian trafficking routes. And this wasn't some sort of theoretical pressure. I mean, this was put on them on purpose because Trump is the executive branch and he's enforcing the laws that are on the books. I mean, it's active enforcement of what he's doing here, which means Trump's comments aren't floating in a vacuum. They're landing on a top, existing of operations. Cuba and the wider net. So now people are not just talking about Iran. They're not just talking about Venezuela. They're not just talking about Russia. They're not just talking about China. They're not just talking about Colombia. They're also talking about Cuba. Colombia isn't the only country on notice. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also warned this weekend the Cuban government is a huge problem. Yo, they're just going after everybody, baby, and I'm loving it. The Cuban government is a huge problem. He made clear the administration is not a fan of the Cuban regime and hinted strongly the more action may be coming. I mean, dude, the amount of people that are on notice right now. I mean, put it together. Venezuela, the dictator was removed. Colombia, the president was warned. Cuba is openly flagged. I mean, this is not ad hoc foreign policy, patriots. No. This is hemispheric strategy that's happening, and we're taking it back. It's about, I can't believe this is taking so long. I can't believe it's taking so long to do this. Why this is shaking Latin America is because for decades, Latin American leaders operated under an assumption that the U.S. would complain but not act. That's what they did for decades. Practically my entire life. I mean, how long was Maduro there for? Like 25 years or something like that? I mean, I'm 36. I can't remember back when I was 10 years old. I kind of can, but the assumption just collapsed, man. Maduro's arrest, I mean, sent shockwaves across the world. Definitely our hemisphere. And Trump's comments about Petro amplified them. Now leaders are asking, well, who's next? What qualifies as a red line? What, is drug trafficking now treated as terrorism? Yeah, all of a sudden now everyone's questioning themselves, huh? Yeah, now the big dog's back. Everyone's all worried, huh? Oh, well, shoot, maybe we need to reevaluate what we're doing here. Here's what Petro should be worried about. Come here, Petro. You idiot. Trump didn't announce an operation. He didn't even sign an order. Petro, he didn't even give you a timeline. He didn't give you anything. He did something more effective. He made it clear that nobody, Petro, is untouchable anymore. And after Maduro, those words don't sound like a bluster, man. They sound like a preview, baby. And Donald Trump is making America great again. So again, that's crazy, man. Rubio is saying Cuba is in a lot of trouble. We got this here for all. We might as well take a little peek at this. Secretary Marco Rubio said Cuba is a huge problem, which we covered, and is in a lot of trouble after the Trump administration arrested Nicolás Maduro. The Cuban government is a huge problem, Rubio said when asked if Cuba is the next target after Venezuela. I'm not going to talk to you about what our future steps are going to be and our policies are going to be right now in this regard, but I don't think it's any mystery that we are not big fans of the Cuban regime. Remember, Venezuela was allowing the Russians and the Chinese to put not satellite dishes, maybe that is what it is, but radar intelligence, just intelligence apparatus, military. They're allowing them to do a lot of stuff in Venezuela. We're not allowing that to happen. This is a security problem. Obviously, it's a drug problem. Obviously, it's an oil issue, a sanction issue. I mean, there's so many issues going on in Venezuela. Venezuela has gone completely corrupt and asinine and backwards. And it's about time that we, did something about it. And we did. And we did, which is great. Alrighty, well, we got some good news. I want to end off on some good news because, I'm not saying this isn't good news. I mean, it is. But there's a lot of news to be had here. And it's about time because my home state of California loves to go after my Second Amendment. And I'm kind of tired of it. But we got a big win this weekend. And I really appreciate that. By the way, thank you to everybody in the chat that's always joining us. God bless all of you. Thank you to everybody that donates and subscribes. And again, we do this each and every morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'd love for you to join us to have a show in the morning to watch that gives you the news. And I don't give you really much of my my interpretation or my opinion. You guys can handle that yourselves. You're smart, probably smarter than me. So let's get to it here. Yes, appreciate you too. Thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All righty, where are we? Okay, well, over the weekend, California open carry gun ban struck down by Ninth Circuit. So California just got smacked down again, and this one really, really stings because the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that California's open carry gun ban is unconstitutional. Yeah, no duh. No duh. And they found that the state violated the Second Amendment by banning open carry in counties with more than 200,000 people. In other words, most of California. And what makes this ruling especially brutal for Gavin is that it didn't just strike the law down. It exposed how the state has been deliberately skirting the Constitution. Correct. Because they don't care about it. And I've said that time and time again that this state, this California, does not care about the Constitution. They don't care about our liberties. They don't care about our freedoms. And they just want to drive our businesses out. They want to drive people out of the state. They want to continue to tax you. We're one of the most fraudulent states out there. This place needs to be audited. Forget Minnesota, man. Come here. We need you here right now and exposing all sorts of stuff in this country, not only in this country, but also the state. Here's what the court actually said, because the court didn't hedge and didn't waffle. It didn't even say maybe, which is nice. It said plainly, open carry is unquestionably part of our nation's history and tradition of the right to keep and bear arms. Correct. That's an exact quote, by the way. The sentence alone completely demolishes years of California gun control talking points, and the ruling specifically targeted the Mulford Act, the law California has relied on to justify banning open carry in populated counties. The judge didn't just disagree with it, he called it tainted. This is where the ruling gets uncomfortable for Sacramento. Judge Lee, joined by Judge Van Dyke, wrote a concurring opinion pointing out that California has resorted to subterfuge to denying citizens their Second Amendment rights. And they went further. They said that the Mulford Act, tainted with racial animus, that's not activist language, by the way, that's appellate court language, The judge explicitly said that relying on racially discriminatory laws to justify modern gun control is incompatible with the Supreme Court's Buren decision. In short, California's entire legal foundation here is rotten and bogus, which anybody, by the way, you don't have to be a high IQ individual to see this whole thing was bogus and was completely ridiculous. But they'll try it anyways, man. They'll do anything to strip your liberties and freedoms. Dude, I am telling you, for some reason, that party has gone so far left, it is head spinning. It really is. And that's why you have people coming to register as independents now, or even Republican, because the Republican Party is more Democratic looking than the actual Democrat Party used to be. It is mind-blowing. And they always say that we've gone further right. No, we haven't. If anything, we've gone further center, which is why you have Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Elon Musk, Donald Trump, for example. Donald Trump is not a conservative Republican. I hate to break it to everybody here in the chat, but he's not. He's governing as one. He's running as a leader as one. But deep down, he is not a conservative Republican. He never has been. He's been a Democrat his entire life. Come on. I'm not bagging on the guy, but it's true. Hey, I'll have him on my side. I love how he's running things. Like I said, I voted for the guy 3 times. California tried the same old playbook. They tried pushing public safety, population density, urban violence, common sense, gun control, gun reform. And the Ninth Circuit wasn't interested in that. The court said that none of these policy arguments matter if they conflict with the text of the Second Amendment, Supreme Court precedents, and historical tradition. Again, no duh. That the Buren framework is in action, and courts can no longer balance rights away just because politicians say they are scared. And California is an outlier. Judge Van Dyke pointed out something California lawmakers hate acknowledging, that more than 30 states, 30, allow open carry in some form. And California itself used to not just follow that, but they used to allow it as well without penalty as part of a historical tradition. So I don't know what's going on here, because it's not like radical. It's not something fringe. I mean, it was completely normal, which is exactly why the court said California's ban doesn't pass constitutional muster at all. And the state hid our rights on purpose. The Firearm Policy Coalition nailed it. They pointed out that most Californians had no idea what their gun rights actually are. And that's not an accident. They said California intentionally obscures gun laws so citizens cannot easily understand their legal rights. Their quote was savage. Here's what the quote was. Our constitutional rights should not hinge on a Where's Waldo quiz. That's an exact quote, by the way. They even compared California's behavior to deceptive telemarketing, noting that the state routinely sues private companies for exactly this kind of misleading product. That's crazy. And this isn't Newsom's first loss. This ruling fits a pattern, and it keeps happening time and time and time again. Just a few years ago, if y'all remember, we covered this. Judge Roger Benitez, I think it was his name, struck down California's assault weapons ban. He dismantled the state's misuse of the term assault weapon, and he warned lawmakers to stop nibbling around the edges of the Second Amendment. Correct. Because you don't have a right to infringe. You do not have that right to infringe on it. And that's his way of saying nibbling at the edges. That's exactly what they're doing. You don't have a right to limit. Just change that word infringe to limit. You do not have the right to limit my Second Amendment. You do not. Benitez famously wrote, quote, "The Second Amendment is about American freedom. The freedom to protect oneself, family, home, and homeland." And he warned lower courts not to twist Supreme Court carve-outs into blanket permission to infringe rights. Correct. Yes. The warning is now echoing up to the appellate ladder. So this is a big win for us. This is a huge win. And the big win for Californians. Big win for us, which I appreciate. All righty. Well, we have a few hundred people watching the show this fine morning. How many people do we got watching? We got over a few hundred at least. We got like 300 plus people watching the show. Greatly appreciate you guys. That is the end of today's episode, today's show. Thank you to everybody in the chat that was watching. Always want to give you guys a shout out. Thank you. Hit that like button, the thumbs up button if you can. It does help support the show. If it didn't, I would never ask you to do it. But we'll be back here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for another episode of the Ball Brad Show. We'll see what happens. Are we going into Colombia? Are we going to go into Cuba? Who's next? What's going on with Iran? What's going on with China, Russia? We'll make sure we bring you all the news. Oh, and by the way, we'll see what happens with Minnesota, the daycare fraud. We got a lot of other fraud taking place, and we'll try to expose some of it ourselves if we can. With that being said, folks, have a blessed day. Happy New Year, all of you. Hope you have a lovely weekend. Be safe. Pray for this this country. Pray for Donald Trump. Hit that like and subscribe button if you feel like we deserved it. And we'll see you tomorrow morning here, 6 a.m. sharp, Pacific Standard Time on The Will Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.